say, something has to give. You can't do everything at the same pace all at the same time.
Power to Live More with Joe Dodds.
Welcome to the Power to Live More podcast, all about productivity, organisation, well-being, energy and resilience. I'm Jo Dodds, and I started this show to enable interesting people to share their stories about how they use their power to live more, and by that I mean to do the stuff that they want to do more than the stuff that they need to or should do. It's about creating a life for yourself where you have the energy, health and space to be happy and fulfilled, spending your time as you'd like, whether that be at work, home or somewhere else entirely. That's your choice.
Hello. My name is Ellie Dodds and I am co-presenter, and today Jo is interviewing Karen Burke. Karen was introduced to us by Susan Moore of show number 191. Karen F. Burke, ACMA, MAAT, DIP PPC, is a business owner, power-up coach, personal performance and business, author, speaker and accountant. Karen is the co-founder with her husband, Devon Burke, of the MindBody Therapy Centre in Forest Hill, South London. Karen and Devon also run a social enterprise, T4H. Karen is also the co-author with Devon of Healing Hugs, coming out soon, a book of tips and techniques on looking after yourself, expressing yourself for the ones you love, and your communities within the wider world. She is passionate about expanding people's self-awareness and power, ensuring everyone she works with has that hug they need when someone is in their corner, championing them, their career and or their business. Her strengths include being inspiring, positive, implementer and multitasker. Her core values are integrity, honesty, loyalty and respect. I hope I achieve this through all the people and businesses I work with by being supportive and encouraging. Back to the studio.
Today I'm interviewing Karen Burke of MindBody Therapy Group. Thanks for joining me, Karen. Great to have you with me.
Thanks for having me.
So start by telling us who you are, what you do, and crucially, where you do it.
I'm Karen Burke, as you heard. Myself and my husband, Devon Burke, run the MindBody Therapy Centre in Forest Hill, London, South London. And we also run a social enterprise called Therapy for Healing. We call it T4H. Number of things have spilled out from it, in the sense of Devon doing MindBody products, and ourselves actually writing a book called The Calming Book of Healing Hugs, and myself writing my own book, which is a Power Up for the Year. So it all came out of really myself coming from being an accountant in the corporate world, loved maths, therefore into accountancy. Mm-hmm. Loved helping people, therefore became a personal performance coach. Met my husband, therefore went into the field of therapy and complementary health, and outspringed MindBody Therapy Group because he was already trading as MindBody Therapy. And then out of there, because he had done so much community work, outspringed T4H, which is social enterprise, still getting funds for doing the work that we was already doing with carers, vulnerable people, children with special needs, etc. And then again, outspringed the books and products. So it's been quite a journey.
Yes, yeah. Wow. So it's funny, when I normally ask people what they do, they tell me sort of what they do, and then I say, was that what you always did? And then I'll go, no, I used to be blah, blah, blah. And you gave me the whole spiel right from the corporate to where we are. It sounds like it was a really smooth transition at all stages.
Well,
from the corporate world into what you do now, it's quite a jump, isn't it, for us people who've done that?
It is quite a jump. It's not easy. Even when I'm re-editing Power Up for the Year and book at the moment, and looking back at some of my musings, which I will put more in there, and the frustration in the corporate world, it was the realization of, it took about maybe 3 to 4 years before I totally jumped out of it to join Devon more in the MindBody Therapy group. So it's not an easy decision, and it's not an easy process. There's a lot of frustrations in there. There's a lot of scaling down in order to scale up. And there's a lot of frustrations in the sense of, once you know what, you are before as an accountant, then you're clinging on to that. And that's kind of, your status. And then you lose that and you jump into something, as self-employed, and it's a totally different thing. You lose that ability to have that monthly salary coming in, and it's really scary to jump. But I went from a 5-day week and to the 4-day week, 3 days in the centre, and then a 3-day week in the corporate, and 4 days in the centre, until I it was almost like 24/7 in the centre in the early days. So it's blood, sweat and tears. It's not an easy process. When people see us now, they forget about the dark times, the times when you're still talking about work, at midnight. So it's not an easy process. It takes hard work and determination.
It's interesting. I really identify with what you say about the identifying with your corporate role. Can you remember when you first sort of got your head around that switch, when you told somebody that you're the new thing? I guess because you did it gradually, it was probably different things for different people. I distinctly remember going to a networking event, realizing that I'd now left my job and I had to tell people I was a publisher, whereas before I'd been able to fudge it. I'd be saying, I work as an HR director, but I'm also doing this and this. But then this one day I was no longer an HR director. I had no choice. I had to say I was a publisher, and it felt really weird. So I get what you're saying about that. You were doing that over a period of time. So was it just a question of switching sort of roles and mindsets as you were talking to people?
I think I probably had, as most people do, dual or triple or whatever characters within me, because from a teenage time I had always been doing poetry, and actually we done poetry with music in a band and things like that, jazz cafe and all of that kind of thing. So I had always written, and I had always helped people. I grew up in quite a spiritual Pentecostal background, and had always run young ladies groups, and always done women's events and run events in general. So to me, I had always had that going on anyway. Even in the corporate, I think always volunteered to do People's Day and, team events and things like that. And also in the meantime, did volunteer for Princess Trust and things like that. So I think it was always knowing that these were in me. But when it was that transition, yes, it was like, who do I say I am? Because I'm many things, and it's a bit confusing until, as you say, and then actually being married before and then marrying again, that was also the confusion. So I was Karen Simpson, then Karen White, then now Karen Burke. So I had to decide, okay, I'm Karen Burke, author, lots of other things, but this is who I am right now on this podcast.
Yes. Interesting. And what about the whole working with your husband thing? Tell us more about that.
It's interesting. I think in the beginning, when I coming from my corporate head, and he's coming from the therapy world, it's totally different. We're dealing with therapists, a totally different bunch, in the sense of how they work. So one of the things that we decided early on, after myself reading the E-Myth Revisited, which was by Michael Gerber, brilliant book, because he is very much the ideas and entrepreneur type person, and I'm very much the implementer and the manager. So in essence, we had to sit down and define our roles, otherwise we'd be tripping over each other. And it quite naturally went into the roles of what we naturally do best. And I found that that's what works with our teams as well. Whatever they naturally do best, that's what we try and give them to do, and that's what they really do great at. And it's a kind of win-win situation. But yes, there are times of frustration, especially in the lockdown last year. This is 2020 pandemic. Then it was a matter of fine, because the year before he had a unexpected surgery, so we were home a lot in 2019. But then to do 2020, it didn't seem too bad in the sense of being working from home and being in each other's pockets. But sometimes I think in the early days when we're just starting the business, there was a lot of banging of heads and frustration because I do things one way and he sees it in a totally different way. Whereas he would say, oh, yes, let's do this. It's great because it gets us business, but then we have to implement it. And I'm like, oh, this, that, the other. And I always say the realistic thing. And he says, I'm being pessimistic. So we had to find our ground. We had to find our roles. We had to find out what we were best at. And stick to those rather than just butt heads all the time. And
as you say, things shifted a bit in the last year in terms of the writing of the books as well. And I guess as you were or are also an in-person business with the clinic, you've had to change, on and off as we've been open and closed and allowed, not allowed, and everything else. So talk through a bit of what you've done in the last year whilst dealing with the pandemic and having to work from home and not being able to see clients like you would.
So probably in the last 2-3 years, actually, it's been the shift, as you say, to being in the business 24/7, to being able to work on the business because we have a great team in place and a great manager in place in a centre. So therefore, last year, she done quite a few of the day-to-day bits that need taking place. So last year it was a case of pivoting. We were able to do that in the centre by offering online treatments and doing YouTubes and offering ourselves up for myself doing coaching online, and Devon for himself doing pain management, actually calls, and then that kind of transitioned into the social enterprise really picking up because there was a lot of COVID funds. So in the end, it was T4H that has really pivoted because we were doing a lot of face-to-face group sessions and hands-on massage, but that pivoted into doing a lot of telephone sessions with vulnerable people, women with domestic abuse, people with anxiety, stress, depression, and a lot of Zoom meetings, which some elderly groups have actually pivoted to be able to do Zoom, which is great. And there's some fantastic groups out there which we've been doing some Zoom sessions. So in the meantime, then I started pulling together another book, which it will come out at some stage, but it's called Teachment, and it will come out at some stage. But in the end, it kind of aligned to be more about what is it that's needed now, what aligns with our business, what do people need to hear. And I think this year, hopefully, it culminated into the Calming Book of Healing Hugs, and we spent time looking at that and working with the editor to say, what are we putting in here? And some of it came out of the book that we kind of got together last year, in 2020. And the other thing coming out of that then was I'm doing a re-edition of the Power of the Here book, which I had already done in 2018. So it's because of the time allowed, whereas we're not constantly, they've opened up the centre, okay, they're all okay, everybody's in, it's fine every day. We're open 7 days a week usually. So it's been, in a way, trying to utilise that time. And I'm quite a achiever type person. I do like to set goals, and I do like to make the most of the time. We enjoyed the garden, great. We grew lots more things than we used to, and that was fantastic because there were some really lovely summer days, and thankfully having a garden as well to be able to do some stuff out there and just enjoy music outside and everything. So that was really fantastic. So we've really utilised the time, and I feel like that we've not, in a way, not done something with the time that was given in an odd sort of way.
So how do you sort of make that difference between sort of work and home life? Because as you said already, in the early days it was talking about work at 12 o'clock at night.
Yes.
I imagine it still is sometimes, but how do you stop work imposing itself on your personal life, and do you have routines and ways of switching one off and switching the other on? How does that all work?
I think there's different phases, and it depends on where the business is at, because in the early days it was 24/7 and we was in there nearly every day, building up the business, because halfway in between we moved premises as well, so we had to do all that work. So it was, when we're in it, and we come home at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, we're eating and chatting about things, and you have to be in it. And it is all about the business, and it is all about, the work. Our daughter at the time understood. She was a teenager. She understood it, and she actually started working with us as well, part-time. So it's good to have and we had a lot of support from family as well. So it's very important for us to have that support as a grounding, for us. But when you come to the next phase, hopefully, where you've got people in place, you've got a team in place, and you can work on the business more, then there has to be a cutoff point. You can push for 6 months, 10 months, 12, a year, 2, 3 years, but at some point, it does catch up on you. And we was exhausted at certain points until we could eventually book in holidays for ourselves. So when we book in a couple of weeks holidays, definitely we just, we're going back home to his home and my parents' home, Jamaica. And we're just totally chilling out, traveling around the place, but chilling out. Other times, we made sure we had a little weekend break when we could, to just time out. And then now in this phase, working from home is for me, I'm an early bird. So I will come and do my work quite early in the morning, and get some of the course work done then. And then by the time he's finished looking at his stocks and shares and things, which he's got into since lockdown, then, it's lunchtime, one of us will do the lunch and, we sit down, we're chatting. But then I know he's going to make his phone calls and I'm going to, get back to work or anything. So, but now the first lockdown, I think I was still kind of, because there was so much work in T4H social enterprise side, I was probably still working till 6, 7. But this lockdown and subsequent lockdown 2 and 3, I've realised, no, actually, I probably, and because it's winter as well, probably it's naturally that at 4 or 5 o'clock, 6 is that's long enough. And then having the breaks in between, and I definitely get my exercises in the morning when I can, if not at lunchtime. So at the moment I'm doing it from home, so there's just YouTube videos, and I make sure I get those in as well, because those are some of my breaks, and I have a proper break for lunch as well. So it's those kind of things, making sure you put put it in your diary. Otherwise your diary will just fill up with work and webinars and Zoom calls. Put the breaks in, put the exercise in, put the lunch in, sit down and have the lunch, chat with the family. It's putting it in your diary if you need to, because otherwise, me as a work type of person, I'm quite hard on myself. Type A, I would say. It's I'm quite hard. I drive myself quite hard. So for people like myself, I would say definitely put it in the diary and put those breathing moments in your diary, where you just take that time. 6, count of 6, count of 6, and have those moments in between the day. Otherwise, you do go mad. I think 5 years ago, Devon said, "Why are you breathing so hard?" I'm like, I'm letting it all out. At the end of the day, it's been like mad in the centre, and then you come home, I still got to do my admin and stuff. It's like, it's a heavy breathing. But it was for a reason. I was letting it all out, letting it all go, or or doing the exercise and just letting it all go. It's just like it was mad.
Talk about healing hugs. That's part of the title of your book. And obviously, with the lockdowns and with people not being able to see people, a lot of people are missing that sort of tactile part of our lives.
Yes.
I just live with a teenager who doesn't like hugs, so it's not very good, really. But talk to us about the importance of hugging and what healing hugs, is all about.
Hugging is very important. Somebody highlighted something in the Telegraph, was it Telegraph or Guardian, over the weekend about hugs, and there's many studies been done on hugs that it really does, if you hold it for many more seconds than just a quick 3 seconds, it is really increasing your endorphins. It's really helping you to feel secure and helping you to de-stress. It's helping to bring the fight or flight syndrome down. It's helping to have that human connection. It's helping to have that social connection, that emotional connection with somebody. There is a chapter in there about hugging teenagers. Yes, I've been through that. My daughter's 27 now, so I know what it's like. It can be an awful stage. I even talk about not liking them at the time, but at the same time you love them. So it is, from a young child, putting those habits in whereby you are hugging the young child and letting them know that they're safe, that they're secure, that they're loved, that it's time to listen. Or it's that routine when you go to bed, you put your hand on their heart, and settle them down, if they're young children. But if you've put all those in when they were younger, the teenage years, it does change. But they do come back around when they grow up a bit more. So when they go beyond the teenage years, they do come back around, stop being monsters, and they really do come back around, and they come back to that huggy stage. I'm come from such a huggy family, I would say. Devon comes from totally the opposite, and so it was quite interesting. When we put in there as well, hug yourself, because that's what he had to learn to do, to hug himself. He didn't have that touchy-feely when he was growing up, so he had to learn to hug himself, and that is really about having your own safety, feeling your own comfort, feeling your own blanket really around you. And in the article it did say about even in the book, I think I'm going to add a few more things in there, in the sense of the heavy blanket that helps you feel more secure when you're going to sleep, that hug that you feel, or even a snug scarf around your neck, it's having that you feel safe and snug really. But there's different hugs in there that we go into, bear hug and one arm hug and things like that. It's quite interesting, a bit funny as well, so hopefully.
It's interesting. So Ellie's she's not particularly scary teenager, but she definitely doesn't like hugs. So the odd occasions that it happens, I always really appreciate it. But she also hugs Granny a lot, and Granny doesn't like hugs.
And really?
I think, gosh, she's giving the hugs away to somebody who doesn't even want one. And here's me, a mum who would want one.
Waiting for one. I know the feeling.
I have to trick her. She likes the fact that she's taller than me. So if I can even smaller than normal, and try and sort of, be like when she was little and I was, the big person hugging her, and it round. Sometimes she does that just to prove how tall she is, and then I get away with it and I get that hug, but it's all trickery.
Yes. We put in there about the invitation to hug, because that's quite a good one. You do as if you're leaning in and you're almost putting your arms out, but you realize that no, they're not coming forward. It's like, okay, all right, high five, or do the elbow thing, or put your hand on your heart or something. There's different ways where you can still express it, I suppose. And we were saying about hugging virtually as well, obviously very important, important for the pandemic. About the little, sometimes it's really nice, as on my daughter's birthday the other day, she was saying about getting a voice note rather than just a message, and it was really nice to hear somebody's voice and what they were saying. It's again, that was like a hug, getting a little note, or getting the gifting that's going on. Obviously there's loads of parcels going on right now. Getting that little meaningful gift through the door is something that is, you feel that slight euphoria, which not as much as a hug, but it still gives the essence of that. And
I've got a little recommendation for that, actually. I sent my friend a friend in a box. It's called friendinabox.co.uk. It advertised a lot and hadn't done anything about doing it, and then I sent it, and there was a problem with the delivery, and the lady emailed and said, I'm not sure if it'll get there on time, but I'm gonna do this and this, and I was like, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine. And she was like, oh, I'm so pleased to that you sort of came back to me and you were so understanding. She said, not everyone's as understanding as you are. And I was like, in this day and age, this time, we've got to all support each other, sort of thing. And then the present arrived, and it was on time, and my friend absolutely loved it, and it was luscious. The packaging was beautiful and everything else. So I sent a message to say, she did really love it. And again, she came back going, oh, I'm so pleased you said that. It's so lovely to hear that people are appreciating it. So, it was such personal service, but it was
nice,
a hug in a box. I mean, there was gin involved as well.
Always helpful.
Exactly.
That's appreciation,
There we go.
But it's that kindness, isn't it? It's very much about being kind, as we've learned through the pandemic. Is you just be kind to your neighbours, to the shopkeeper, to everyone's stress, everyone's feeling all sorts of feelings. The emotions are going up and coming down, going sideways, going across. It's going all over the place for everybody, and no one is untouched, as it were. So it's just being kind. And obviously, when you're in business, you know how hard it is to do business, and therefore even to business owners, it's just realizing that if they're trying their best, just be kind to them, because obviously I know what it's like trying to run a business, and I try and give good feedback as well, because I think that's important for other people. They know that you're either doing a good job or you could do this a bit better, because we get that all the time. And hopefully bit by bit we've been tweaking the business as we go along over 11, 12 years now. So no,
that's exactly what I wanted to do. She said she was having sleepless nights over delivery, and you think, delivery system at the moment must be creaking at the seams. There's that much delivery going on, and a lot of companies are saying that there might be delays and everything else. So you can imagine it must be stressful if you've got where you are sending things through the post or the delivery system. But there we go. So talk about how you make sure you get done what you need to get done. You've described yourself as a sort of type A personality, which I don't think you needed to do, because everything you've told me so far sort of pointed to that.
She didn't know.
but how do you make sure you get done, the right things, the things that you need to get done, and how do you fit it all in?
I think it is important, especially when you go through each year. It does change, so there's nothing fixed. The only thing fixed is making sure that I review it every year or every 6 months or even every month to say, what am I doing, what's most important? Or every week I'm going through my diary and say, okay, what have I got on next week, and making sure it's not too full with webinars or something. Oh yeah, I'm interested in that, let me watch that. Just making sure it's not too full. I think it's just reviewing the diary, and as I said before, about making sure you put the things that are important in first. I think I learned that after, as I say, years of building the business, that you put the exercise in first. I put my call into my dad first. Unfortunately, my mum's passed away some years now, but my dad, he's quite active still, which is great. Put that call into my dad. I've got 3 sisters as well and a brother, so it's in their in-laws and nieces and nephews. So it's touching base with them every so often and saying, well, hey, what's going on? Or doing the messaging. So I think I've learned, as it does change over the year, in a sense of you either taking out a day and knowing that day is for family, or that's for reading, or whatever you want to do in that day, or it's during each day where I say I'll do my exercise. I'll probably sometimes, if I'm pushing, like I'm re-editing at the moment, I'll wake up at 7 and I'll just get on and do the first hour and a half, and I'll get that done. Then I might do my exercise, and then it's back in the office, lunch, and then back in the office for a bit if I choose to, this times, and then cutting off at certain points. So 5, 6, it's cutting off, and enjoying watching YouTube or reading or chatting or whatever I'm doing, cooking and that type of thing. And then bringing in as everyone has been doing, bringing in the baking. I haven't been doing banana bread, but over the Christmas time I've done a lovely Christmas cake. So I used to enjoy baking, so I've actually brought that back in, and I'm like, I remember I enjoy that. So when you do have more space, in wherever you are in your business, I think it is having those timeouts when you can. Putting in the important things first and fitting the business around that when you can. Obviously it's not easy in the early days, but in the latter days, otherwise as you say, something has to give. You can't do everything at the same pace all at the same time. So something has to give. In the beginning, it was about making sure my daughter's doing GCSEs at the time of the start of the business. So making sure that she's fine, her head is straight, mentally, emotionally and everything. And, my husband and then the business, it's in that order, but actually for me, it's my faith. It's myself being grounded. It's myself doing my meditation in the morning, saying, we call it Medi-Pray in the sense of meditations, prayer, people would understand. And it's doing that and grounding myself first to say, it's going to be a great day. It's all happening perfectly. These are some of my statements. I can do it. It's a new day. It's a new possibility. It's all these motivating statements and affirmations I say to myself to keep myself going. And then it's listening to your body at the same time, because you can do all these things. It's like, oh my gosh, you are run down, like stop. The next before your body stops you. I think it's a case of Devon 2019 when he had an issue with his colon, and it was all of a sudden we was going to go on holiday and we couldn't go because the operation had to take place. So it's to me, he slowed down a lot after that, which has not been bad thing. He's not getting any younger. He would like me to say that he's not getting younger, and I think he's put a lot of over 25 years of being a therapist. He's putting a lot of effort and work into the whole business, and now it's time for him to reap a bit of that. In the good days, reap a bit of that back, and put other therapists in place. And he used to send it was very hard at times to send his clients to other therapists and let other people take the slack. And no, let the manager do that. no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go in and do it. The manager actually, you know, one of the therapists is really good. They call us, I can't think it's long hand, flat finger or something when they're digging out, you know, the sink and things like that, or fixing the toilet. They're really good. So to me, it's really good to have a great team behind you, but also support of family and friends, but, you know, immediate family and then, you know, extended family. I think it's really important, and to have a great team around you.
Yeah. So talking about having a team around you, we were talking about our mutual contact of Susan Moore, who was on an earlier podcast. You fairly recently been working with Susan, and we were talking about the importance of having an assistant, a PA, a VA, whatever, to help you to sort of outsource things. Tell me a bit about how that came about and how you work together or have worked together.
Yeah, I had always known that at some point I want to need a PA, because there's some stuff that is across all of the companies that we do, you know, things that we do, that I need someone's size just to do something that is not specific to a particular company, which I would just give, you know, to one of the managers. But I had heard about her name some time ago, and it was in my folder. So I knew that when it come to a new area, in the sense of writing another book, to say, well, I don't know anything about, let me see. Don't know anything about that. Let me get this social media sorted once and for all, because, you know, manager's too busy. It's never getting done. I'm not getting to it fully. So let me get that sorted as well for the centre. So to me, it was, I called her VA, and Devon keeps saying, who's VA? It's like, okay, call her PA. Devon knows PA, you know, old school, who's PA? And she's been really helpful, because that's about outsourcing what you're too busy to do, and it's a new area. I want you to start looking at Amazon, look at Kindle, you know, setting that up, sorting out all the social media, getting the 31 days of hugs out for January as well, and sorting all the pictures and things of that as well. Luckily, we also got some hours, so this is a good tip for people, in the sense of, if any of the universities around you are giving any student hours for free, then that's a really good way to get some people to look at your business. One lady last year looked at our communications on the MindBody Therapy website, and we realized that even though we're very positive, and when people come into the centre, they really like do that because of the sights and the sounds and the smell, you know, the incense and everything. Rose crystal quartz is in there and things. So it was quite surprising that there was a few negative terms on the obviously we was locked down, so we had to say we're locked down. But she said, "What you can say that afterwards, but say what people can access or what they can do," and that was really good to have fresh eyes on it. So I think same with having a PA, I think it's putting fresh eyes, particularly on the books area, doing more about it, and, you know, getting something to print and things like that, doing all of that. Then while I'm busy on the businesses, she can be busy still pushing and promoting. So in effect, what me and Devon say all the time is 1 + 1 = 3, and that's how we see it, that it leverages up everything when you have more people on board doing the things that you're not the best at, or the excess things while you're still doing other things. And I think it really works.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you actually get time to sleep?
Yes, I have good sleep.
Tell us about that.
I have good sleep. It's actually Devon is the one that has trouble sleeping sometimes. I think there's too much going on in his head, full of ideas. But you know, as I said, if I'm trying to wake up at 7, I will, you know, by 11, I want to be in bed, and that's what I try and do. So I'm already winding down by 10 o'clock, listening to podcasts or some meditation, or, you know, or a really nice inspirational talk or something, just to get my head in the right place. So I do actually get a good sleep, and I think, to me, it's about finding when you're best at, and not forcing it. You know, obviously when you've got loads to do, you've got to force it. Sometimes you've got to just plug in and get through. But the times when you don't, I'm a morning person, so I will know I'll do some of the core work in the morning, concentrated work. So then I know that the bulk of that work is done. And then in the afternoon, I can do some of the lighter work. And I think it's just about knowing who you are and how you work, and when you work best. If you're a night owl, then work then and enjoy yourself during the day. So, and then, you know, naturally you will have your own rhythm. And my rhythm is, you know, yes, towards Thursday, Friday, you know, it might go on to midnight and things, but, you know, I usually tend to be quite disciplined Monday to Wednesday at least, and, you know, get quite a lot of the work in then. these days. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what about learning and improving yourself? You talked about listening to podcasts. Are there other things that you do?
Yes, well, have been quite a reader. So I have a number of books out all the time, which I dip into. And that one I mentioned is very good if you're working closely with a team and building a business. E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It just talks about the different types of personalities and people in the business and where best to place them and how to get along with them. Another great one has been on the spiritual side has been 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. This is Deepak Chopra, because again, it talks about intention. It talks about, I mean, The Secret is great and it's about attraction and things, but I find this one very much about, in the sense of karma, what you what you sow is what you're going to reap, and the way it's laid out, no matter what denomination, which I don't say I belong to any denomination, but spiritual, and I believe in a higher being and higher purpose. So to me, it kind of gives it that those are, no matter what religion, that's the natural laws of life. And that book is really good, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. And then the other one was good at the time when I was probably doing my transitioning from corporate to working for ourselves, working for myself. You'll see it when you believe it. That was Wayne Dyer, because in a way, it's like I could vision what I would like. I'd love to work for myself. And I could see it happening by 2014. It actually happened in 2010. So scary, yes, but I believed it and I had planned for it. And in effect, I had done my 5-year goals and things like that. And I had, visioned it and put it all out there. And I had done a lot of this as well before I had met Devon, and that I was going into this field. And probably been together 15 years, probably 15 years, something like that. So it's dipping back into those books sometimes. Even when it was tight and time was tight. One of the good books was Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu, and it was again, us as women in particular, we try and do so many things throughout the day, and at the end of the day, as I said, you can't do everything all the time at the same pace. So it's about allowing some of those balls to drop, and it's okay. So when I said to one of my sisters who had four kids, it was 2 years in between. So if the washing up has to, stay in the sink overnight, it's okay. Yeah. If the kids have to help with putting the clothes away, and while you sit down, it's okay. If now I think over the years they're all teenagers and beyond now. I think probably about 10 years ago she gave up and said they're just going to live in a house. It's like, I'm going to drop the ball. The place is going to be a mess, and she's not going to come in every time and pick up after them. Between her and her husband, it's like they're doing that. Like, something has to give, and you just got to make that decision what's going to give. If it's going to be, not going to the hairdresser, for my hair, as a black woman, it could take up half a day to nearly a day. If I decide not to do that, I'm getting that day back. Or if you decide to go and do an hour of running outside, that's then do that. If all the benefits that come out of that, rather than not doing it, and therefore you fit that in and you do it. So sorry, I've probably gone off on a tangent here, but yeah, I was in the sense of time management. I think I was on to Drop the Ball and some of the books and things. So loads of different books that have helped me throughout the different phases of journey.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to some of the theme of what you were talking about before about the putting the big rocks in. That I've noticed myself in the last year that all the stuff that I do outside the house obviously has gone away, and yet I still don't seem to have any spare time.
That's exactly that.
Shows you how important it is to be intentional and put in the stuff that you want to do, because there's never going to be time to do it if you wait till you're at a loose end. Some people get bored. I am never bored.
Never. Me myself either. I'm like, why are you getting bored? I know like some of our staff on furlough, I know obviously when you haven't got anything to do, or you're not got driving anything or writing a book or anything, it's like I can imagine that you can get bored. I just don't get it myself. I think I get it from my dad a lot. He's very every day he will still go for his walk, to keep exercise and everything, and he'll go gym once a week when we could, and I just don't get it. He always has something to do, and I said, I'm the same. He's retired, obviously, and he always has something to do. I said, to me, I'm the same. I don't know that I could ever get bored. Yes, in the sense of bit irritated or not quite sure what to do with this space of time, I'm telling myself to chill out or watch a film, you know. So those things are like, okay, yeah, what am I going to watch, and you know, that type of thing. But it's not boredom, it's more like telling myself to chill out and relax for the day or something. But yeah, no, there's always something to watch, or you know, depends how I guess how I suppose for driven people, we do tend to have our projects in place, or always have things that we, you know, I'd love to be able to do that one day, you know, that type of thing. But as you say, I found myself in you know, 2020 first lockdown, how come I'm still haven't got the time? And it was only when those really summer days came out, that really hot days, that we said, no, just gonna drop everything, just gonna be in the garden. You know, there's nothing to do anyway. We didn't know when it was going to open up again. It didn't know anything, but no, I'm enjoying the garden. I'm going to do some gardening. I'm going to plant some things. You know, let's sow some seeds. Let's get them sent to our house, and let's put in everything that we can. Let's dig up this garden and put it in as well. And that was really, I didn't realize, because my dad is such a allotment, and he loves his plantations. He calls it the back of his house, his garden. And you know, coming from farming, and then my husband Devon coming from farming. So I didn't realize I forgot how beautiful it is to watch nature grow. And how relaxing that is. And then in essence, taking that as something for your life, that things take time and we can't rush things. And when things are aligned, it just works so beautifully. Yes, we can push and we can, you know, plan and everything else, but sometimes it is just to slow down, as I'm being told all the time by Devon, just slow down and enjoy the moments. Enjoy every single moment, because you don't get that back.
No, exactly. I'm just chuckling to myself that on the one hand he's telling you to slow down, and on the other he's asking you why you're breathing.
It's a bit hard, trying to slow down. You see, it's such a paradox. That's life, you know. Push hard but slow down. You know, plan ahead but be in the moment. You know, it's like it's
exactly. So last couple of questions, and we've covered some of this already, but I'll ask it to you know, get your specific answer. So firstly, those days where it all goes horribly wrong, how do you deal with those?
I go back to my breathing. Breathe in. Count of 6 and breathe out. And really trying to treat others as we'd like to be treated ourselves. So if it's someone's fault, you know, obviously we have a team. If it's someone's fault, it's like, you know, not trying to take it out of them, but have that word if it's necessary right then and there. If not, then it's about stopping for a moment, going outside, breathing, coming back in, and then dealing with it. Or if it's possible to do something like a exercise, or doing some exercising, or go for a walk in nature, or watching some light entertainment, because at the back of your head you're trying to find a solution, and the solution is coming through, and we're quite solution focused anyway. So we'll, as we've learned to be, especially with firefighting, when you know, building a business, just firefighting a lot of the time, but you're finding solutions all the time. And when I find a solution, or if something happens twice, like, you know what, I put a process in place. So when things don't go right, I think we just switch in our minds. Okay, fine, this is how it is as it is, as Devon always says, and now what are we going to do about it? And I think that we're quite solution focused, and I think one of my statements come back into my head is, it's all happening perfectly. And breathe.
And so those days where you get to live more, and that's where you get to do more of the things that you want to do and less of the stuff that you don't want to do, what do they look like for you?
Oh, it's always about the sun, the summer. It's in the garden. It's hands in the dirt, or just sipping something lovely, sitting down and usually having a book or music playing. And definitely music is a large part of our lives. I love music playing in the background sometimes when I'm working. But yeah, blasting music outside while in the garden, that's just magic. And then having people around, in those days, we'll come back. Having people around, family around, friends around, we used to love to entertain a lot. And it's magic. The sun's shining, music festivals, dancing like there's no tomorrow, wearing that purple hat today. That's what it looks like. Having those conversations, even with people, if you can't, we can't do some of the things now in the pandemic, but it's having those conversations with people that just make you laugh, you know.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you, Karen. It's been great interviewing you today. Tell people how they can find out more about you and get in touch.
The most of my bio and blogs and things are on the MindBody Group SE23 website. So the website is therapyforlife.net. If you look up MindBody Group SE23, you can find us, and you can find my profile under About Us Therapists. And yeah, you can book me in, or send us an email, and go from there.
Lovely. Thanks,
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks a lot, Jo. Cheers.
All this information is available in the show notes. If you go to powertolivemore.com / in this case 211, then you'll find them there. And this week it's very short and sweet. It's half term. I'm on a campsite in Kent with friends and little Doddsy and Simon, and we're chilling out. It's lovely weather, and I'm not going to give you any pearls of wisdom this week other than the whole thing about getting to live more is about getting to do more of what you want to do and less of the stuff that you don't want to do. And this week I'm definitely doing more of what I want to do. I'm with friends, I'm in a field, I'm in my caravan, and it's lovely. So hope you're well, hope you've got great weather and lovely situations where you are, and I'll catch you next week. Again, the show notes are at powertolivemore.com / 211, and we look forward to speaking to you next week.
Use your power to live more.